Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another edition of What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility. I'm your host, Pete Pardo, publisher and CEO of SOT. Today, we've got a very special guest co-host who you're going to be seeing a lot on this channel. Welcome, Carl Sederholm, longtime writer
Hello.
from Sea of Tranquility. We're bringing them all on board here. So you're going to see everybody, or almost everybody, who's been writing for our webzine for all these years to come on and make appearances on the channel and do what we do here. So, Carl, welcome. It's been a long time coming. Happy to have you on the show with me. Hopefully first of many, many shows going forward.
Hey, thanks very much. I'm really happy to be here. Looking forward to our talk. And thanks to everyone for reading our stuff and enjoying music alongside of us.
And a lot of people read our stuff. And thankfully, the reason why we've been able to go on for all these years and decades is because people do want to read about new music, new bands, classic bands, all that kind of stuff by all the genres we cover. So, here on the What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility show on the YouTube channels, it's all about the new stuff. So new releases. Carl, for many, many years, has been one of our main guys to contribute reviews of a lot of extreme bands. So we're talking death and black metal and grind and sludge and stoner, and I'm sure hardcore and some punk stuff, and I'm sure I'm leaving things out, but and he has just been an absolute joy to have on the webzine to be able to deliver a lot of that stuff. So I asked Carl to pick out a couple of really notable new releases in the extreme metal category, so to speak, and talk about them and why you guys should be looking out for these. So if you're into extreme metal, you come to the right place on this episode. That's what Carl and I are going to be talking about in our shows together in the foreseeable future. So with that, I'll leave it up to Carl to introduce a couple great new things that have come out recently.
Cool. Thanks, Pete. So like he said, I've been writing about extreme metal for quite a few years on SOT, and it's been a really great experience for me to see what's new in the extreme metal world. And the bands I'm going to talk about today are, one is brand new, one has been around for a little while, and one's kind of in between. And so I want to start with this band called Xibalba. And I have no idea if I'm saying that exactly right. It's the name of hell, or like a purgatory kind of a place in the old Mayan tradition. And I asked a friend of mine who studied the Mayans in college to pronounce it for me. He says it's Xibalba, but I always say Xibalba because I guess the English stress puts it that way. But the name of their album is Años en Inferno, which is Years in Hell. And Xibalba, they are a Southern California band out of Pomona originally, and they perform in Spanish. And so their song lyrics and their song titles are typically in Spanish. This album came out at the end of May, and it's released on Southern Lord Records.
Good label. And really good label.
Yeah, really good label, right? Really good. And one of the things I really like about Xibalba, that I've mentioned this in reviews before, but they used to sell a t-shirt that I wish I had bought, but I just never got one. But it was a sports jersey, and on the back, where you would have the number, they just had the number 0, and then where you have the name of the athlete, it says none heavier. I always thought that was rad. These guys just love to tell us how heavy and extreme they are. And people could debate about who's the heaviest, and who's got the biggest cojones and all this. But I'm telling you, Xibalba is a heavy band.
So if you were to break them down, because I know that this is what people like, right? You got to classify everything. So heavy would now, as far as like what subgenre of heavy? So is it like death metal heavy? Are these guys more from like sludge, stoner, black metal? What would you say?
Yeah.
Or is it just even harder to classify than that?
Yeah, I think they're more probably best called death metal. And they're coming out of that kind of obituary kind of a style, that kind of Florida death metal sound a little bit.
So really old school then.
Yeah, but they've also got this California punk thing going, where occasionally they'll just break loose and you're just in this near thrash kind of space. And on this album, there's a little bit of doom and a little bit of sludge towards the end. So they're kind of, I think sometimes death metal fans get worried that when a band like this starts playing a little slower tempo, that they're going soft or something. But that's not what's going on with these guys. They're just increasing their vocabulary a little bit. But that heavy mood is always present on this album. So,
And how does the band spell their name? Is that with an that's an X, right?
yeah, so it's Xibalba.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Xibalba, something like that. Sorry, guys, if they ever hear this, I love you.
That's probably what it is, though. That would be my guess. So
yeah, Xibalba, something like that. Yeah.
Xibalba.
But they really, and their lyrics are really, they're really contemporary with a lot of current issue kind of. They're really into questions about race and injustice. They sing a lot about Mexican Americans, and how they've thrived in California, or how maybe they've been held back, and kind of different kind of political questions and so on. And this album drops right when these riots are breaking out in the States, and there's a lot of talk going on about race relations and how to fix a lot of problems endemic to our culture. And this album, with all of its anger and its sort of political overtones, is really hitting at the right time. There's nothing relaxing about it, let me tell you. This is not a kickback and enjoy the afternoon kind of an album. It'll really hit you in the face, but it is a lot of fun. So.
Cool. Everybody should be going and checking that out. And you can read Carl's review of that. And I believe the next one he's going to talk about on tranquility.org. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and expect nothing but praise for Xibalba. I think they're just remarkable. This is their fourth or fifth album. I've lost track, but I think I've tracked them pretty much since their start with the website, and I've always been happy when a new Xibalba comes across my desk. All right, so the next one is this band called Beast of Revelation, and these guys are a new band, but they are made up of members of other bands. Probably the best known is John McEntee from Incantation is on the vocals here, and then you've got guitar and bass from a guy that's his name is AJ Van Drenthe, and he's in a band called Temple. And then you've got Bob Bagas from Infidel Reich on the drums. And so, I'm more or less familiar with these bands. I've listened to Beast of Revelation probably more than
the others.
Than any
well, I think most people have heard Incantation. I mean, they've been around for a while, so that's a
Yeah.
pretty notable act. Yeah.
Yeah, true, and they are awesome. But so in my review, I said, hey, some really extreme metal fans might think of Beast of Revelation as a supergroup, but if this is a supergroup, it's a supergroup without all the baggage that sometimes a supergroup has. These guys are they just want to get down and dirty in the death doom style. This is their debut album, and it's called The Ancient Ritual of Death. I'm sorry, I can't remember what label they're on, and I didn't list it on my review, and I'm just having trouble pulling up their website. All of this. Oh, they're on Iron Bonehead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Iron Bonehead is a really solid band.
Get a ton of stuff from them. We get more stuff from Iron Bonehead than we can even cover. That's how much we get from Iron Bonehead.
Yeah, and there's such consistently strong release, like Hell's Headbangers in a way too. You get just this solid kind of just driving stuff. But these guys, Beast of Revelation, this is slow-paced death doom. probably, I mean, death doom is kind of a murky genre to define, but I'm thinking for the sake of simplicity, this is sludge with doom overtones. And it's that, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just slow, slow, slow. And it's hard to play slow. And they really just do it with that kind of doomy, deathy quality that just makes you feel like you're being crushed by a huge boulder.
So you know what the band comes to mind, and again, not even hearing it, but just listening to your explanation, is Triptychon, which is
Oh yeah,
basically the current incarnation of Celtic Frost, right? And
yep.
I always thought that you know, Tom Warrior's kind of outlook on music these days falls exactly in that kind of like doomy death type of thing that you really can't explain what it is. It's kind of, it's got overtones of both of those styles kind of coming together, but it's like you listen to it, it's just, you feel like you got the weight of the world just kind of plowing down on you, right?
Yeah, yeah, and why that is so fun to listen to is completely beyond me, but I love it.
I know. And it's like people who can't appreciate extreme metal, they're always like, what kind of enjoyment do you get out of this? It's like, I don't know. It's just great. It's just so heavy.
Yeah,
It's like, you know,
you get it or you don't,
or you
or
don't. Yeah,
you
exactly.
you know, you can earn it, but you know, it just hits you in this part of your chest that is just, and it's great.
Yeah.
The vocals on this thing are really, really rough, and he gets down into these. I mean, I think I mentioned in my review, it sounds like he's lapping up dirt almost, like the grave dirt or something. Ah, you know, and he's just down there, just getting dirty and getting grit in his teeth and everything. But it works beautifully, and his voice is really, it's rad, and he doesn't lay it on too thick with that extra stuff, but he really, I mean, you know, you can't believe every band that sounds like they're singing from the tomb, but this guy is buried, man. So
What's interesting is you throw a word like beautiful in with all the rest of that. It's perfect, right?
That's
But
what you
yeah, but
gotta
that's,
do.
hey,
Yeah,
fans of this genre, man.
yeah.
I have called plenty of extreme metal songs or albums beautiful in their own
Yeah,
way, right? So to the casual
yeah,
listener or who does not appreciate it, they're like, oh, there is nothing beautiful about that at all. But if, like you said, if you get it, you totally understand.
yeah, totally. So I've been listening to this album pretty much since it came out, and I had it on today, this afternoon, and Incantation. There, Incantation's probably the closest, you know, comparison for other bands that other people might like, but these guys are something else, and I think they've got a bright future ahead of them if they keep doing this. So, um, so that is Beast of Revelation. Now let me tell you about one more. The next band is called In the Company of Serpents. And these guys are kind of in between the two that I've talked about. And I haven't reviewed this album yet, but expect something, if you're interested in reading about what I think of these guys, expect something within the next few days. But these guys are, they're out of Denver, and they're they're with Earsplit, but Earsplit's not a label.
Yeah,
That's more of a distribution.
that's a PR group. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a PR group. So I'd have to double check their label, but I'm pretty sure this is their second album. And what they're doing here um, is kind of a cross section between death, doom, and sludge, and just kind of a hybrid of these genres like we've been talking about. They're a little heavier than you might expect from a mid-tempo band. Um, and they don't have the thrashy or punkier elements that Xibalba does. But their music really hits the right spot where you're just grooving along with it, kind of banging your head, nodding along to it. And they do a great job mixing in some melodic elements as well. These guys are they're willing to go outside of just the almighty riff. And I really dug their album. The couple first two tracks, The Fool's Journey and The Scales of Mott, are both really, really killer tunes that really stood out to me. But these guys also have some acoustic guitar, kind of classical guitar interludes that they bring in. There's one called Daybreak, one called Nightfall, and the guitar playing is really interesting. And they've got a really talented player in their group, and he does some pretty interesting things with his scales and with his style.
So I'm on their Bandcamp page right now. So it looks like this album might be self-released for them.
Okay.
But so this guy, this guitar player you're talking about, is that Grant Netzorg?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Grant
Okay.
Netzorg, yeah. And he really does a nice job. His playing really stood out to me. And guitarists are a dime a dozen, but some guys really have a little extra edge, and this guy has that extra edge. He can play melodically, he can play fast, he can play slow, and those things matter. I'm
And it's
looking now.
interesting. The album is you have a handful of like fairly lengthy tracks, and then like Carl mentioned, you got these little like kind of like instrumental pieces that kind of separate some of the longer tracks. So that I always like when I see that, because that usually means there's some pretty intense stuff going on here.
Yeah, totally. And like you said, Pete, their songs are a little on the long side, and long songs are hard to pull off. They do a good job with their songwriting. Maybe some fans might, or some listeners might think, hey, they could have shortened it by 30 seconds here, 75 seconds there. But really, they do the long form well. And like you said, they break it up with those shorter things that are just straight to the point and calm. And these guys, their lyrics for this album, they're really interested in like tarot cards and magic, and trying to figure out kind of the mysteries of life, and how to ask the hard questions about you know why is life so crazy? Why do we have to put up with so much crap? This kind of thing. And they look at the issue of time and just this kind of broad human theme to their lyrics, and trying to figure out what it means to live in uncertain times. And not everyone pays attention to the lyrics, and that's cool with these guys because their music really rocks. But if you go into the lyrics a little bit, they're thoughtful and insightful, and definitely not cliched. So.
And I see, so in addition to Grant on vocals and guitars, you've got Ben Pitts on bass and lap steel guitar,
Yeah.
JP Dameron on drums, and then a guy named Paul Primus who guests on violin.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And you've got a couple guest vocals, couple guys guest vocals and things. I still need to break down some of the lap steel stuff or the violin stuff that they're doing, but these guys aren't afraid to be a little ambitious and not just do the same old. But I would say that no matter what, if you're into sludgy, mid-tempo, extreme metal, these guys are right on point.
Cool. I'm going to actually, I think once we get off this call, I'm going to give these guys a listen right on their Bandcamp page, because this looks pretty cool. So we're going to put links down in the description of the video to all three of these bands and albums. But just because I'm looking at it, it's In the Company of Serpents Doom.bandcamp.com. So right there, you can go directly to their Bandcamp page. You can listen to these songs. You can download, purchase the CD, purchase the download. They got multiple different options here. There's also a vinyl edition as well.
Sweet.
For those of you who like to buy this stuff on vinyl. So pretty cool. And yeah, they have a couple of other albums too. So we've got Ein Sof Or from 2017, Rendered Unto Ash from 2015. I think they have a couple more. So these guys have been, I know I've heard their name often, during the last few years, because all the new stuff that comes across my desk first, and I see tons of stuff. So when I sent Carl this one recently, I was like, I remember that band. I've heard that before. So
yeah, I think they're rising stars in the Denver area, and really there's a bright future there for these guys, and hopefully they'll be able to get on the road and show us what they're made of. pretty soon. So
once all this stuff kind of lightens up a little bit. I know most of these bands are probably itching to get out there and play, and I know people are itching to go see it.
By the way, I'll throw out one other recommendation for those that are intrigued by the idea of a lap steel guitar in a band like this. You got to check out Insectark. They're a band out of Brooklyn, and they kind of had a few different members come in and out of the band, but they had an album come out earlier this year called The Vanishing, and the stuff that those guys do with the lap steel guitar is pretty. The main player her name is Dana Schechter, and she makes the lap steel guitar sing and do all kinds of things that you just can't even imagine. And their album, they had 2 albums, the most recent, The Vanishing, and then the one before that called Marrow Hymns. Those are 2 of my favorite albums ever, and I really, really dig the lap steel guitar now. So yeah,
lap steel guitar is not just for country and.
So anyway, I'll throw that out there and see if anybody wants to get grooving with the lap steel. So
awesome. Well, this has been cool. So there you guys have. You got 3 and actually 4 new albums to go check out. And like I said, we'll put links. In fact, I'll bug Carl to make sure we get that last one in too. So we'll put links to all 4 of these in the description below. And like I said, we've got reviews of most of this stuff on the website. So go check it out there at www.seaoftranquility.org. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. Give us a like over there, and follow us on Twitter as well, because we do stuff there occasionally as well. But, most of the time we're here on YouTube all the damn time. So thanks again to Carl. Carl's going to be back in the very near future with some more cool extreme metal stuff to talk about. And maybe I'll even have some stuff to throw out there too as well at that time.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So,
love to hear from you, Pete.
Exactly. So, all right. So for Carl Sederholm, I'm Pete Pardo. Everybody take care. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning with favorite album of the year. Are we up to 2018? We're up to 2018 tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
The finale of this series is going to be Saturday. And then on Sunday, I will wrap it up with some thoughts on what I think are my 5 top years in music that we've been, covering since 1965. So that'll be Sunday. So lots of other stuff coming up. Martin Popoff's coming back on the show. Top 10 songs of Badlands. We got Jack Toledano. We're doing top 10 songs of Primal Fear. What else am I forgetting? Oh, geez, there's so much going on. Interview with Jason Tipton from 0 Hour Saturday as well. So that's happening as well. And over the next couple of weeks, Stephen Reed coming back on the show. John Neodorf's coming on the show. Carl will be back. Lots of stuff happening, so you don't want to miss anything. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you real soon. Carl, thanks. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.